We're joined by royal expert Camilla Tominey, royal fan Anita Atkinson, and live from her home in Gloucester, Diana superfan Joe Dobson. So, Camilla, the sites that we have at the moment, the things that we can go and visit, it seems a bit of an eclectic mishmash, doesn't it?
It is a little bit. There doesn't seem to be much consolidation of an actual memorial that people can go to and remember her. It's amazing, isn't it, that it's 20 years next year. Everyone remembers that day like it was yesterday. And I think there's been some criticism, for instance, of the fountain when it first opened. People were slipping over. It didn't seem quite right. There's been some criticism as well over at the Althorpe side of things, where the burial ground is, that hasn't been maintained and people aren't visiting there anymore for Diana because the exhibition is finished. Having said that, Kensington Palace, which is always going to be synonymous with the princess, has continued to do a number of different exhibitions. Only very recently they did a fashion rocks exhibition with a lot of Diana's most famous dresses on display. And I think there's a sense now that historic royal palaces which run that estate want there to be something permanent on the grounds. And what better than a garden, because of course she loved flowers. We'll all remember that that funeral was synonymous with the floral tributes left outside.
What do you think she would have thought about a statue, though?
Well, this is the thing. I think that quite a lot of... I appreciate there's calls for it because it's so permanent and it's such a fixture, isn't it? A statue, it really gives her a lot of gravitas. I think at the same time, the sentiment perhaps among the princes as well as members of the general public is she was a very tactile figure who perhaps can't quite be immortalised in bronze. She didn't have that formality,
no,
and perhaps a statue seems a little bit too serious for somebody who was one of us, basically.
What did Kensington Palace say? Because this garden, if I've read this correctly, is temporary, so it's another transient thing.
It is transient. It's going to go alongside an exhibition to mark that anniversary, 20 years. And it's also perhaps a little bit of misunderstanding about the prince's role. They aren't designing it. Historic royal palaces have come up with it and they're being informed. As far as KP is concerned at the moment, we've been discussing with them, well, what commemorations are planned? Everyone will fondly remember the Diana concert 10 years after she died, which, of course, William and Harry were directly involved with. It's too early to say. And I think there's reluctance because it's a big year for the Queen. She's 90, there's a lot going on in the summer. I think we're just going to hold back and perhaps find out more towards the autumn about what's going to be happening next year.
Anita, you are very much against the idea of a statue, aren't you? And you actually have gone as far to sort of question what Diana's legacy is, if at all.
Well, as far as a statue is concerned, yes. I mean, I don't think a statue is a good idea anyway. It's good. It's cold. It's impersonal, and yeah, I can see that Diana did a lot of good things that probably outweighed the negative things, but when she was alive, she was vibrant and involved in lots of things that she brought to the fore, especially with children. And if we're going to have something permanent, which I think we probably should, I'm disappointed that the memorial garden isn't going to be permanent. I don't see why it can't be. It should be. But, you know, I don't live in London. I live in the North Pennines on the roof of England. And I know lots of people who've never been to London. We need something nationwide if we're going to do something.
Like what?
Well, it's got to do with children. You know, she was the one that, you know, picked the babies up and... you know, the children with AIDS in Africa and things like that. And maybe something that everyone in the whole country can see or visit or be touched by.
Is the trust still active?
Well, it's been incorporated now to the Foundation for the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge and Prince Harry. And they are continuing her legacy in force because Harry is doing Centre Barley, his charity for AIDS orphans in Africa. William is now patron of organisations like Centrepoint, the homelessness charity she worked for, Royal Marsden, so cancer patients. So as far as they're concerned, and Harry said this only on Friday, did an American interview, they want to keep her legacy alive. They don't want her to be forgotten, but it needs to be an appropriate tribute.